Hello there, wonderful people of the internet, and also basically friends. This is going to be a short video on how to train an operatic baritone voice. Basically, you need to do certain exercises in order to train aspects of the voice, but that should be the remit of a different video. This video is about repertoire and how it can provide goalposts for training voice. And it's basically what I'm doing, and I'm not speaking from a position of anything other than experience. So, to train an operatic baritone voice, you need to be able to resonate quite well in the upper middle of the voice. The upper middle of the voice being sort of A to D. So that has to happen. And actually, I suppose if you're dealing with a complete beginner, you can just look at like Four Requiem baritone solos, for example. That's pretty good starting point, I would say. And then after that, you can look slightly higher. Look at there's lots of bel canto music, which actually isn't that high, going up to E's, for example. I mean, just for example, Bel Chore's aria. Is a great example that the aria itself, the initial part of it, only goes up to an E. In fact, actually, no, think about it. The entire aria doesn't have any Fs in, no written Fs. So just E's. And basically the point is that you've got to keep your larynx low with a really good chiaro simultaneously. Now, people who say, oh, don't use the word low larynx, nonsense. You need to. Basically, the larynx is lowered by your breath. Okay? So if anyone wants to disagree with, oh, don't lower your larynx, well, I'm afraid your larynx is lowered by your breath. And actually, that's what people subconsciously do when they sing opera anyway. So you might as well go the full hog. Use Bel Chore's aria to get the larynx down. Also, Bellini's A per sempre is excellent also. Doesn't actually have any written Fs or Gs as well. So actually that's just E flats. So you can train the low larynx sensation really well with that. But then the next thing I would say is once you've got quite good E naturals in the low larynx is actually the Toreador song. The Toreador song is a winner for low larynx with Fs. Okay. And then after that, that's actually when I think you should start looking at Verdi. Now, of course, you can dabble in some Verdi beforehand, but the issue is if you can't sing the bel canto repertoire I mentioned and the Toreador song, if you can't sing that repertoire, then you're not going to be able to sing the Verdi very well, because what we're talking about is negotiating language and notes, right? And obviously you can sing really well in French, you can sing very well in Italian. People who have aversions to that just simply haven't negotiated how to do it. But basically, so the thing is with Verdi is, rightly or wrongly, he loved writing G flats or F sharps for baritones. And that's where there's a different positioning of the voice, in the sense that the F is the low larynx. I mean, it's all the low larynx, but in order to maintain the low larynx, I believe you have to think slightly higher in the head. You have to feel a slightly higher sensation on the F sharp, and that you are maintaining that sensation into the G as well. And then, really, a milestone is to be able to sing Largo al factotum. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, you have to be lyric baritone to sing Largo al factotum. Not true. Not true. I'll tell you why it's not true. Because if you go and listen to Peter Glossop or Carlos Alvarez or Gobbi, they all sang Largo al factotum, or Stracciari. In my opinion, the two greatest Italian baritones of recorded Italian operatic history are Riccardo Stracciari and Renato Capecchi. And Stracciari made his career singing Rossini and Verdi. Same with Capecchi. And if you listen to them, I think nowadays people might think, oh, bass baritones. That's why I think bass baritone is a very problematic term, because actually bass baritone, it's almost like a cop-out. Like, oh, I can't. It's like I've got quite a full voice and I've got good low larynx, it's sort of low to mid, but I can't be bothered to sing higher. That's all it says to me, because it's not basso cantante. Is Boris Christoph, is Giarov, and basically people had a beautiful line. Like basically, it's not commendatore often nowadays is like often it suits a basso profondo who's just got some serious weight up there, but. Somebody who might also sing Hagen, perhaps, but like basso cantante, maybe a bit more lyrical, fine, whatever. I think the difference between cantante and profondo is often to do with sensibility. But what's not a matter of sensibility is how loud a baritone is. So it's like somebody can be the whole remit of the light baritone. Like, what is that? I think so. Simon Keeneside, Thomas Allen, they are brilliant lyric baritones, fantastic. Okay, Simon Keeneside in his heyday. Quite simply, you would struggle to hear them in a lot of Verdi, depending on the matching of voices, and also you would really struggle to hear them as Scarpia, because it's to do with orchestration. Like that's why your voice needs to exist in the low larynx to know how much resonance you actually have. That's why low larynx training is a critical part of training an operatic voice from lesson 1, or if at the very least lesson 2. You've got to be introducing that, because that's what you're singing in. What you're training as an operatic singer is actually your capacity to use the resonators, or creating a lot of sound, right, but keeping the larynx low. And the reason actually for using the resonators and keeping the larynx low is to open the vocal tract, is to encourage resonance across sort of here to here, to utilize your body to make as much noise as possible. And this is why, for example, Capuccilli had apparently, according to people I know who heard him live, why he had such an impressive voice is because he basically trained his voice. It's just fully functional sound. And I think modern day equivalents are Alvarez and Armatufshin I also am a big fan of Andrei Kiemach, however you say his name. Younger, she's probably younger than me actually. She's sickening. But this is the thing: is you got if you don't understand what I'm saying, well, you can't really, in my opinion, you can't really progress. You can't go into what you're meant to, and then because you don't train fully, it means that you're never achieving your potential, or you're never getting close to achieving your potential, because I suppose what achieving your potential is subjective. But it just means that you're teetering on the edge of what your voice actually is. That's why you've got to do it step by step. So for me, I can sing E naturals. I can basically sing my entire range really well, including E natural and F. Florido song, I have to warm up for it. I can never just sing it cold, but I can sing it pretty well now. And my G flats are not terrible, but they're not quite industry standard. But I can sing the Rodrigo. I can sing. It's weird actually, because I wouldn't say. Yeah, whatever. Renato in One Barrel Mascara has G's in, so that's why it's harder. It should be harder. It's higher. The point is that you train it, and by training it, you work out how to do it, and it becomes easy because the right muscles are engaged. Anyway, this is meant to be a short video, but it's as short as it can possibly be on a subject which is ultimately quite complicated. I hope you enjoyed listening. Goodbye.